This is the Homeschool Show from North Carolinians for Home Education. Our goal is to help you homeschool with confidence and joy. I'm your host, Matthew McDill, and we have as our co-host today, John Lewis.
Hi, Matthew.
Nice to see you again. Yeah, glad you could be here.
Yeah, I'm glad to not be kicked off today.
We'll see how it goes.
Okay.
Tell us what we're doing today.
All right. So today we're going to look at the homeschool news. We're going to remind you about the upcoming chess tournament and tell you about the early bird registration for the Thrive Homeschool Conference. It's the greatest event of NCHE in the whole year. And then the Homeschool Conversation segment, we're going to have a conversation with one of our featured Thrive speakers, Miss Rebecca Spooner, homeschool mom and creator of Gather Round Homeschool. Then we're going to talk about our homeschool tip of the week, which is give real answers when your kids ask why. Kids never ask why.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. And then the Homeschool Reality Moment, we'll wrap up with that. Today, a homeschool family is going to show us how they get their day started by remembering what their purpose is. So, Matthew, why don't you kick us off with the homeschool news?
All right. Just another reminder for the Chess Day of Play and Tournament. This is from the NCHE Chess Network. You can go to nche.com/chess-network and find out about how to register. You do have to register beforehand. This is February 19th at 1 p.m. in Kernersville. And you can come and just play. You don't have to compete. Or you can register to compete and go into the bracket-style competition and see how far you can get. So if this is something that you're interested in, you can check that out again at nche.com/chess-network.
Don't forget the dash.
That's right.
And we also have the Thrive Conference coming up. NCHE Homeschool Conference is every year hosted usually in the last weekend in May, right? So this year it's May 26th through the 28th in Winston-Salem. It is the best homeschool event in North Carolina. Not only that, I will say a couple years ago, our family went to another homeschool event in another state, another conference. I won't name the conference, but it's kind of a well-known name homeschool conference. Yeah. And Thrive was a much better conference than that
That's
one.
what I want to hear. I assume that's where you're going with that.
Yeah. No, so we encourage you to be involved in that. My family's gone to that for the last 13 or so years, ever since we started considering homeschooling. So here's some details.
Yeah, here's what's important is you have an opportunity to get early bird registration. That's what I want to tell you until February the 24th, and that's in less than 2 weeks. And so if you register now, you get $15 off the pre-registration price and $35 off the on-site price. So if you're going, you might as well register now because you can get some great money off of those. Also, you can get a free Thrive Conference registration if you share about the conference with your friends, and you get 4 paying first-timers to list your name in the referral field, and then yours is free. So if you want to check that out, again, you can go to Thrive, nche.com/thrive, and on the registration page, it tells you how to participate in that and share it with your friends and get a free conference.
So if any of you are watching and you've never been to the Thrive Conference, you just put down that your reference was John Lewis. Include me on the comments down on YouTube.
Why didn't I think of that?
All right. Well, a homeschool conversation segment. We have a guest on our show today who won't have to do that she won't have to solicit your endorsement there. She's going to be a featured speaker at the Thrive Conference. This is Miss Rebecca Spooner. So, Matthew, why don't you introduce her?
Yeah, Rebecca is a second-generation homeschool mom of 5, author of More Than Words Bible Curriculum and Gather Round Homeschool. She's an international speaker and popular blogger at homeschoolon.com. She is married to an RCMP, Canadian police officer. She lives in
Canadian
Canada.
Mounties.
Yeah.
Is that right?
In British Columbia, Canada. She is passionate about sharing the message that the homeschool life is messy and wonderful and challenging and, most importantly, possible.
Yes, it is.
So let's talk to Rebecca.
All right.
Hello.
Hello.
We're so glad you could join us today.
Very happy to be here.
That's great.
Rebecca, thanks for being on the show. How old are your kids?
My youngest is 8 and my oldest is 14. So we're kind of chugging along on this journey.
Yeah, and there's 5, right?
Yep, 5 of them.
And what's we have 5 kids as well. Ours range from 7 to 17, so pretty close there.
Yeah.
So personal favorite part of homeschooling. What's that for you?
For me, it's the aha moments. I love getting to witness and be a part of, not just on the outskirts, but actually be a part of those aha moments with my kids. When I've thought of the prospect of ever putting them in school, I'm like, but I don't want someone else to get those moments with my kids, to see the first time they read a sentence or get that math concept. So I love the wonder of it.
That's awesome. A special moment we always want to keep for ourselves, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and how long have you been speaking to homeschool groups?
Yeah, I've been speaking for about 5 years now, across Canada it started, and then throughout the United States at various conventions. And yeah, I mean, I like to just share our story, which is messy and chaotic, and it's not, I always tell people I'm not coming from this place of like, I have arrived, I have all the answers. I'm coming from the trenches of, I know this is messy and it's hard. This is a hard path. And yet there is so much fruit in the challenges as we work through those, and fruit in our kids' lives, and fruit in ourselves and our character. So,
So do you have a recent favorite topic, or do those change over time? You know, something you really enjoy talking about these days?
I feel like, I mean, it does change a little bit with what the need is. And I feel like right now with COVID, with a lot of new people who are joining the homeschool realm, there's a lot of overwhelm, a lot of stuff that's out there, and a lot of like fear of missing out and feeling like we have to do it all. And there's all this weight on us. And how are we going to get all the, things our kids need to learn? And what if we miss something? And my biggest thing, my message that I wish to pass on is just to take that pressure off. And especially when we're homeschooling, with God, when we have Him on our side, and we're surrendering to Him and submitting to Him, that there's so much that He has for us, and it's not all on our shoulders. And it's okay if we have gaps or make mistakes. Our kids are always learning. And so that's my biggest thing. It's just grace for ourselves and grace for our kids on the journey.
So is that the main theme of the workshop? Is it enough? That was one of the ones listed that you're going to be doing at the Thrive Conference. I think we have 6 or 7, probably 7, where you're going to be able to people can come and watch you live. And is that the theme of that one? And can you give us some more tidbits on how do we deal with being overwhelmed?
Yeah, Is It Enough is my favorite session.
Okay.
It's actually all focused on my middle child, Malachi. And I have these amazing slideshow pictures that are just hilarious. You know, those kids you have that just don't fit into the box, and how he has just always left me wondering and trying to figure things out. And I guess for me, I really take key moments throughout my journey with my son, and those questions and those times where you're thinking, am I even reaching them? Is what I'm doing impacting them, or are they listening? Because it doesn't seem like it.
Yeah.
And taking those things, and at the end of the day, that weight, that pressure, even that guilt of like, I should have done more. Did I do enough? And how God has just shown me time and time again that He is filling in the gaps that I leave behind. Yeah, I'm not a perfect person. I don't believe that with any amount of striving or trying that we are going to be able to do everything and be enough for what our kids need. They need a whole lot more than us. And yet I've seen God be faithful to my kids. And I have seen, even in the times when we haven't done a lot of school, when there's been difficult season or health problems or whatever else, I've seen my kids, specifically Malachi, and I just have so many testimonies and stories of it, but they've excelled and they've learned things on their own. And I just think for me, it is sharing that testimony and saying, here's a real life example of how, I've seen fruit even when we weren't doing everything exactly as we should, just to take off some of that pressure and that burden that we carry around and, can't sleep at night because we're carrying. So,
well, I hope that testimony is encouraging to so many parents who are getting started now. we've been homeschooling for 16 or 17 years, and John's he wouldn't admit how long he's been homeschooling. Remember. It's not even as much as me, John. Anyway, and we can testify too, just to what you're saying. You just sense, surely we're not doing this right. Surely we're missing something. And the answer to that is, yeah, you probably are. But we trust the Lord. And when you look and see that he's filling in those gaps, you realize, thank you, Lord, for your faithfulness. And so anyway, with our combined testimony, and I hope they'll come hear those stories so that they will somehow let go, and have that peace ahead of time, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Looking at a couple of other ones here, workshops you're planning on doing, how to raise a world changer. I'd love to hear what the topic is there a little in more detail. And let's just give some encouragement to parents who are listening on how to have a vision for this.
Yeah. So for me, one of the biggest things, even with the journey of what we've done in our business, which is really relatively new, is that I have felt, I guess for years past, I felt like God was really laying on my heart, what are you hoping to get out of all of this? Is it, I keep on adding more and more. There's so much amazing resources out there, so much more than when I was homeschooled, that it's easy to see the good and to keep adding good things, but too much good things can actually be bad. Okay. And so you keep on adding and adding and adding and adding. And eventually I was burning out with 5 kids at 5 different levels with all their different needs and trying to do all their different subjects and meet them where they were at. And I felt like God just took me to this place where he said, you are like, what are you hoping to get? Because if it is just to reach a GPA, to, get into university, then you should do all of this. You should invest even more. You should do all of the rigorous education curriculum that you can possibly find. But when I sat down and asked myself that question, that wasn't my answer. Okay. My answer was that I wanted to raise out of the box world changers. I wanted my kids not to be like everybody else. I wanted them to stand out. I wanted them to be a light in the darkness. I wanted them to be able to think for themselves, not to fill in the blank with what they've learned in that textbook, but to actually take what they're learning, apply it to their lives, apply it to their current situations, and to think critically. And I was not sure that the way I was doing school with fill in the blank answers and, read and write and trying to do it all and cramming more in was actually reaching the goal of where my heart was. My heart was, if I can do all the best in filling my kids' head with information, but A, if they're not interested, they're not going to retain it. And B, if they're lacking character and if they don't have that at the end of the day, they're not going to be prepared for what God has for them. So I guess for me, that session is about really analyzing your why, really analyzing what you hope to get out of this. It's not to say if your kid wants to be a doctor or your kid wants to be a lawyer that you shouldn't do something rigorous. You might need to do that for the goals that you have. But especially in the younger formative years, what kind of things can we do with our kids and focus on keeping that focus in the right spot? And that's that session, but just my heart for even my own family. And I know there's a lot of other families that feel that way when they sit down and actually think about it. So
I really appreciate the encouragement for parents to get beyond surviving. It's so easy to go, we just got to get through this. We just got to check off the boxes. And that's really why, in one sense, we called our conference Thrive, because you want to go beyond survive to thrive. We want this to be a lot more, a lot abundantly more. So what would you say? You mentioned a couple of things, but if we want to be focused on the world changer vision or something bigger, what are some of those changes we make in the day, in the school, in the discipleship that helps that process?
For me, it is not being so concerned with the input and the output. We measure that, and that's where those sessions, kind of work together. But there's this arbitrary line that we are all trying to reach of normal, of what everyone else is doing, of this standard that we need to meet, and yet who is defining that line for us? Really, where does that even come from? And so it's being able to sit down and say, I don't have to be so concerned about how much information. I mean, my kids need to learn about Greece in grade 5. Why? Why does it matter if they learn about it in grade 5? Why can't they learn about it in grade 10 when they're interested in it? So worrying less about the amount of information and the when of information that they need to hit these milestones, and focusing more on relationship, focusing more on connection, focusing more on discussion and devotions together as a family. And if God and their character and their relationship with God is my value and something that's important to me, then that should be a really big focus in our homeschool. And so instead of trying so much for the academics and the input and the output, even in the output side of it, I think that we want to see results. We want proof from our kids. So we learned this, now write me a paper. We learned that, now I want you to write me a paragraph. And I guess for me, being able to take that off and see a different perspective and say, you know what, it's okay if we have a discussion about this. And in fact, having discussion about this could be far more valuable for them and be retained far more than if I'm just constantly getting caught up in the input-output model of education.
So we may have time for one other topic question, but I want to first let you tell us a little more about Gather Round Homeschool, what that is and what it encompasses so people can check it out.
Yeah. So really started with that personal journey of God just beginning to press a little bit and say, what are you doing and why and what's your goal? And as a speaker, I would go to these conventions and I would start off, it was like my opening line of, when I was young and starting off homeschooling, I imagined my children gathered around me like little clucking hens and they were going to be engaged and listening, and I would ask questions and we would laugh and smile and everyone laughs and we all say, how naive was that? And then, we kind of lead into my sessions that way. And he convicted me and said, that is my desire for your homeschool. And you're making a joke about it. You're saying that this is unattainable. This is unrealistic. This is naive. But what if that was possible? What if you could actually do school with all your kids together? What if you could connect, and through relationship and connections, not just together relationally, but also with topics connecting to one another and all weaving and them seeing how it all plays out? What if with me in the center, this was possible to have this kind of homeschool that you've essentially given up on? And so out of that, Gather Round was born, and it's a unit-based approach, but it's really a hodgepodge. Before this, I reviewed curriculum. So it's got Charlotte Mason principles. It even has traditional principles because I liked the open and go. I wanted simple. I didn't want to have to go and gather a bunch of stuff for project-based learning. There's too many kids. There's too many subjects. So it's got all of your subjects included other than math, and you choose a topic you're interested in. You read together from a teacher's guide, so you're connecting. And then you go off and you're working on your independent notebooks, which are tying in their different subjects in unique ways. So for example, North American birds, they're learning about migration patterns of birds. Well, we're going to talk about the difference between migration and immigration and tie in social studies and geography as they map those birds and where they went and the patterns. So we kind of tie it all in, but still training our kids, really, because I also felt like for my older ones, I mean, my son's going into high school, I want them to be prepared to find information, to do stuff independently. So it's kind of a bridge. It's a bridge of all different sorts of educational methods brought in, but it is designed to be done together as a family and with all of your subjects to take a lot of that pressure off.
And what grade levels does that cover? Is it all the way through?
All grade levels. Yeah. Yep. So we have a pre-reader book for kids that are before reading, and then it goes all the way up through to our high school book. Nice. So everyone can work at their own levels. And then also that I felt like, there's some good things. I mean, when you look at the school model, it's easy to say all the things that are different, and we kind of divide up into these camps. But the thing with school model that our kids, I think, could benefit from is that collaborative learning, being able to everyone work together on something and brainstorm together and with feedback together and all of that. And so because they're learning about the same thing, but at different levels, it leaves so much room to gather around the dinner table and say, oh my goodness, I was learning about this, me too. And they can collaborate and learn and add in the things that maybe they learned that their younger siblings didn't. I just think that it leaves room for community and relationship and bringing the joy back into your homeschool, because you don't have to have 8 different books times 5 different levels. You can actually just have your one unit and really choose what you're interested in, but still cover everything from there.
We've been talking to Rebecca Spooner, and she is a featured speaker at the Thrive Homeschool Conference coming up in May. You can go to gatheraroundhomeschool.com to find out more about this curriculum and approaches that she's been talking about. You can go to nche.com/thrive and register for the conference. Rebecca, thanks for joining us. We look forward to seeing you there.
Thanks for having me.
Great.
Awesome. And before we move into our homeschool tip of the week, we want to remind you about a new opportunity for NCHE members this month. Related to the Fundamentals of Chess workshop.
Yeah, so we have this great workshop. It's a 6-week program put together by a top 10 chess player in Canada. Interestingly, we just talked to someone from Canada, so 2 folks right there. You can get 25% off of this program if you are a member of North Carolinians for Home Education. If you're already a member, you should have got an email to tell you how to do that. And how to take advantage of that. If you're not a member, go to nche.com/join, find out how to be a member, and you could take advantage of this 25% off deal and get started learning how to play chess.
That's right. And our homeschool tip of the week this week is give real answers when your kids ask why. Now, Matthew, with 9 kids, how many times a day do you get asked the question, why?
I don't know, but I know over time I have definitely come to the conclusion it is the most popular question. Definitely at my house. You get it at your house? Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Do your chores? Why?
Why?
Sweep the floor. Why? Clean your room. Why? Do your math. Why?
Can I play on my tablet? No. Why?
Why? Yeah, that's right. You give an answer. Why?
Yeah.
And so, of course, our favorite answer to that question is...
Because I said so.
Because I said so. Now, I'd just like to go ahead and point out that is a legitimate answer, right?
Although, when I was growing up, I swore I would never do that to my children.
And then you realize...
Sorry, kids.
Wait, that's the answer.
That's the answer. Why do you question me?
So anyway. That is a legitimate answer to the question, and is especially appropriate at certain times, especially
and certain ages.
Certain ages, that's right.
Yeah.
Especially when it's the why question is being used as a delay tactic or as an argument tool.
Right.
However, the thing that we want to bring up is that why is one of the most important questions.
Absolutely.
For everything that we do. And if we really want to prepare our kids for life, and do more than survive, as Rebecca Spooner was just talking about, but thrive, then our kids are going to have to know why they're doing what they're doing. And so really, and if we're coming at this from a biblical or a Christian perspective, we want our children to know how to follow Christ. And so why they do things is actually quite important, the purpose of it. And so, we have developed a theology of chores. A theology of math, a theology of mowing the lawn. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. In other words, we have an actual reason why we do these things, which is important. And so we just want to encourage you to not evade the most important question. And when you do have that time, stop and explain. We're doing this because we love God. Yeah. We're doing this because we love people. And this is how we do it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And sometimes that's important for parents, too, because we tell our kids things and we may not really know the why. We've just always done it that way.
Yeah.
Or that's the way we were raised. And it's kind of like that story where the lady, cuts the ends off the ham, and her husband says, "Why do you do that?" And she said, "My mom always did it." And the mom says, "I don't know. My mom always did it." And they asked several generations back, and it comes down to the ham didn't fit in the pan that I had.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
I cut the ends off. So
we got to get to this reality moment.
Yeah, we do.
Because it's about this.
Yeah.
So let's watch this and see how it fits into this exact point that we're making.
All right.
anchor world to be a light in the dark world that demonstrates to others the love of Christ.
All right. Those kids belong to T Essence, our other co-host. And I just want to read to you, in case you didn't catch it. They were saying to be raised up as Christ-centered, biblically anchored world changers, to be a light in the dark world that demonstrates to others the love of Christ. And so I loved how she started the day with, why are we here?
Yeah.
Answering the question, why, and
That's
giving
great.
the purpose and the focus for the whole day. What they're doing.
Purpose statement for the school. Well, T Essence, you're doing a great job, and we want to thank you guys for joining us this week. We'd love to hear from you, so if you have questions or you want to share your homeschool moment, you can email us at thehomeschoolshow@nche.com. Don't forget to help other people find the show, like, subscribe, and refer and rate on all the platforms that we're on. And you can get more information about that at nche.com/thehomeschoolshow.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being here, John. And until next week, continue to homeschool with confidence and joy.
We will see you next week.